It.
Yes.
This one?
You can.
What's coming?
Okay. Okay. Oh, yes.
Right now.
You get
Let's start.
first, David?
Yeah.
Okay. Central
Okay then. Hi everyone.
and louder.
Oh, louder, louder.
Okay.
Can you hear me? Who knows? All right. Yeah, we're getting some people on board. All right then. Very good. So today we're going to continue on. But we'll just wait for a few more to join before we do that. So I hope you had a nice Christmas break anyway. I hope you got some nice presents. And I hope you bought some nice presents as well. So if you can remember last time, we talked about types of graphs, pie charts, bar charts, and we looked at some line graphs and things. We looked at parts of the graph, and then we looked at numbers and figures. Figures is really something which is has a label. So, for example, the figure might be your salary, how much money you earn per month. So that's the difference between a figure and a number. Or it could be like the number of unemployed or something like that. We're going to look at that. And then we looked at comparing and contrasting. So we're going to continue from there and then look at how to describe trends. Now remember, this is part of like a writing test which you can do for IELTS, but this is purely an introduction to that. It's a little bit more involved for IELTS. But also it's good knowledge to have for things like business as well. All right, so I think we'll carry on then. We'll continue. So yeah, 63, that's right. All right, so describing trends then, what do we need to do about that? Actually, you can't see the title.
Oh, okay.
No, just a second. 1 second, we'll try and get a full screen. Just resize the screen.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so just make sure everything's there.
Okay.
Okay. Great, okay then. So let's continue. So looking at this, it looks a bit complicated, right, to start with. So how can we describe something like this? Rather than talk about the ups, so this is going up. Here we can see the first part, the ups and the downs. We can talk about general trends, so like this would be the direction that it's going in. Sorry about that, same color as the graph. Then you have a downward trend, it goes down, and then something like this, it goes up again. Okay. So instead of saying it goes up, it goes down, it goes up, it goes down again, you need to be a little bit more specific or use more precise language. So we're going to look at specific vocabulary which is associated or related excuse me, to graphs and charts, but graphs in particular. So this will tell us the increase, so that's kind of specific vocabulary that we use. which is this part, we did with the increase, and then the decrease, which is this part. So we've got increase and decrease. I'm getting used to this, sorry about my art skills. Alright, so before we do that, so we're looking for specific vocabulary. So what kind of vocabulary, what are the other verbs associated or related to specific vocabulary? So we've got verbs which all mean to go up. So we have go up. Then you might have something like rise. Then you could also say, as an alternative, climb. So this is like, climbing a mountain or something like that. Increase would also be one meaning to go up. And then rocket, this is a bit stronger. So this is like a spacecraft taking off, you know what I mean? On a launch pad, so something like a massive rocket. So that would mean a very quick increase, going up very quickly. Then we might have something like this, reach a peak, which means reaching the highest point. Okay, so those are the verbs for going up. Now we've also got verbs for going down. So go down could also be fall. So you've got rise and fall, these are kind of opposites. We've got drop. So to drop very fast. Decrease, this is all going down. And then again, a stronger word for going down is plunge. Okay? And then the opposite of reach a peak would be something like bottom out. You can use bottom as a verb, and then bottom out just means like the lowest level. So this is a phrasal verb, if you like. Okay, so these are words which are related to graphs. So far, so good. So when we're talking more precisely, we want to be more specific. We have to consider the changes. So here we can see a simple graph which tells us about sales of something. We're not really interested in, at this stage, in what exactly the sales are. And you can see from this that we have time going along the bottom. So really this is months, measured in months. And then we have something like items, number of sales going up. This could be items, or this could be actual money. It could be, for example, thousands. Sorry, my handwriting. It could be thousands, right? Thousands. And the units are going up 2 by 2 by 2. So for the first line, from January to February, so this line, we can see that it is going up slowly. And then we can see from February to March that it goes up a bit more quickly. And then from March to April, we can see that it goes up more quickly still. So we're looking at how quickly, or the rate at which it's going up. We're taking into consideration the changes in time, and we're taking into consideration the changes in the values. So this is probably of major importance because we're talking about money. So you have to consider, the values and how important that is, and what is maybe the reason for the change, particularly in a business situation. Why is it important, and why are there differences? What factors? What are the reasons for this? Okay, so there we've got. We've done some examples of verbs, and also we're looking at this kind of word which tells us how quickly it is going up. Also, of course, you can have this going down, and you can also use the same kind of words. These are adverbs, so we're going to look at adverbs in detail. Here we can see the slow, the direction slow, the direction of going up, but going up slowly. So a long time, and then it increases by a short amount. So this, you might say, was slow, or you could say the adverb slowly or slightly. Let's have a look at the next one. So this is increasing the steepness or the gradient. This is going up by a much larger amount in the same time. So this would be gradually or steadily or moderately. So you can use those. For this one, we're going up even quicker, so the amount actually is quite big now. This is looks like an important amount, so you can say this is significantly or considerably or substantially. And then we've got the most, or the most expressive, the biggest extent that you could have. Oh, sorry, goes to it, which would say, and you can use the word rapidly or quickly or sharply or steeply. So this gradient, or the steepness of this gradient, tells us how it is going up. And we can use that to describe different types of graphs, which we will have a look at later. Just a second, we might have an error.
Oh, it's delayed.
That's just a delay. All right, so we've looked at going up, and then what about if it doesn't go up and stays the same? Well, you can use verbs like remain or stay, and then words that you put on the end of that would be constant. So, for example, remain constant, stay unchanged, remain steady, or stay stable. And this tells us that it's all going in a horizontal direction, and there's not really very much changing. Okay, what if you get something like this then on a graph, where it's going up and down? Well, the verb that you can use for this is fluctuate. Sorry, no S. Fluctuate, which just means simply just to go up and down quite quickly, and goes around a value. So there's some value here, and going up above that value, and then below that value, and then above that value again. So this is going up and down, sometimes quite widely, which means, and you can say fluctuate. Alrighty, let's continue on. Alright, so we're back to the graph that we used before. This is the bar chart, which tells us about two different items which we have in the legend. So remember, we had permanent settlers and we had temporary workers. So we're going to look at ways to describe this trend. If we're just looking at the green bar, then you can see that it goes from quite a high place to somewhere around the middle. So how would you describe that? Then we're going to look at this. You can see that for both green and light blue, that the value tends to stay about the same. Then if we just consider the light blue, we can see that it goes from quite a low value to a high value in a short amount of time. So this we need to describe also. And then finally, going in this direction, you can see that they both sort of follow the same direction. So how would we describe that? Okay, so you know the verbs, and hopefully you can remember some of the adverbs. Then how would you describe it? So just do the usual, shout that out in front of into your TV screen or into your computer monitor or into your laptop or telephone, whatever you're using today. And you should have come up with something like this. So drop. And then it's quite a fast drop, so we can use drop quickly or drop sharply, something like that. We could also say plunge. Plunge gives a feeling that it's a faster drop. And then we can have dramatically as the adverb. Okay then. But with this, you've got to remember your tenses. So don't forget that this is actually in the past. We're looking at this date. So that's in the past. Then you need to change drop to past tense. So then we should have dropped sharply. And then plunge, change to past tense, which would be plunged dramatically. Okay, let's have a look at the next one there. So now we're describing the light blue. So it's going horizontally. How would you describe that? So remember, use a verb and also an adverb to describe that. Okay, shout out to your screens now. Should have something like this: remain constant, stabilize at, or level off. Leveling off is when it kind of does a kind of bend like this. So this is a level off, and then it goes flat. Okay. So looking at the light green again, so this time it goes from this to this. How would you describe that using a verb and also an adverb? This is quite a quick rise, so it's a large amount in a small time. Okay, a large amount in a small time. This is a large amount, small time. Okay, so you could use shoot up, as in shoot a gun, climb dramatically, or you could have something like jump sharply. Okay, but remember to change that again. So do you know the past tenses for that? So shoot would be shot, jump would be jumped, and climb would be climbed. Okay. So the next one is a steady. It's more steady. It's not as sharp, or it's not as quick. So how would you describe this one? This is about the same for both the green and the light blue also. Okay, you might have something like this: rise steadily, go up moderately, or increase gradually. So don't forget, rise, increased, and then go, went. Okay, so we are describing increase and decrease using verbs and adverbs, but let's have a closer look then at the adjectives also, because we will look at another way of expressing the same thing, so that you don't have to repeat yourself. For example, it increases substantially, then it decreases steadily, then it increases. You need to use maybe another way of saying that. So we'll look into that in a minute. But for now, change the adjective substantial to an adverb, and then also change an adverb slightly back to an adjective. So do that for all of these. And then if that's a bit too easy for you, tell me which one is it? Is it what kind of amount is it? Is it a small amount, or is it a medium amount, or is it a large amount? All right, so I'll give you a minute. I'll give you 30 seconds to a minute. Just have a quick look at that. And I'll tell you the rule at the bottom. So if you're changing anything like an adjective, to change it to an adverb, we just add ly. Okay. Alrighty, so that should be fairly simple. So you should have come up with something like this. So for substantial, it becomes substantially. For slight, that becomes slightly. For consistent, that becomes consistently. Sharp becomes sharply. Dramatic becomes dramatically. Rough becomes roughly. And marked becomes markedly. So the first one then, is this small, medium or large? What kind of change is it talking about? So this is a large amount, substantial, if you remember from our graph before. The slight is just a small amount. Consistently, this is kind of medium, somewhere in the middle range. Sharp, like a knife. So gives a feeling of like suddenly or intensely, or something that's very quick. So this is a large amount. Then we have dramatic, which is large. So if you think about drama, then this is something which is intense or interesting. And then roughly, this is a bit of a trick one, because roughly you can't use so much with an increase and decrease, but it's just telling us that it's not exact or it's not precise. So how, for example then, how much is an S20, you know, the mobile phone? Then you could say it's about, or it's roughly 20,000 baht. So that means it could be 19,000 or it could be 21,000. So we're just talking about approximation. So roughly, say it is roughly 20,000. Okay, and then the final one, markedly. So this tells us that it's a large amount. Okay, and that's one other way of generally talking about the direction of the graph, and that is could be downward or upwards. So, for example, you would use that with the word trend. You can see that there is a downward trend. So if you have a graph just going up and down and up and down and up and down, sorry about my writing, you can see that the downward trend is this direction. Okay then, so how can we explain this? We need to look at the most important information. So all of this is like leading to a speaking exercise, which you will where you will describe a graph to me, and then you're going to be using all of the vocabulary that we've learnt, we will learn in this lesson. And where just some other features that you need to know about how to explain this. But we know there are peaks. So this is like the most important information that you can see on the graph. You can also see a dip. There's a slight dip. Sorry, right. Dip. And so we need to describe going up part, going down part, and then how it finishes off. But taking into consideration different time intervals, so how the duration of this, and then for going from up here to down here, the duration for this. Alright, let's continue. So, looking at this graph, what is the most important information that we can see from this? So, number one, what year were there the most temporary workers to Australia? So, have a look at the graph there. We're looking for temporary workers, which is this one. So, this is light blue. And then we need to know what year were the most. So we're looking for the highest for temporary workers. And then just quickly looking, we can see that this is the highest. So then we know this is 2001. Okay, let's continue on. What years did the inflow of temporary workers remain roughly the same? So now we're looking for a period of time or a duration where the light blue is the same or roughly the same. Not exactly the same, it doesn't have to be exactly the same. Alright, well we can see that starts here, continues on, remains the same, stays the same from 1992 then. Wait, 1992 to 1996. Okay, question 3. What and when were the highest number of permanent settlers? So these are the ones which are settling permanently. They're living for a long time, or maybe forever. So what was the highest number of permanent settlers? So we're looking for the green, and we can see straight away that this is definitely the highest. So that answer is 1992. People put 1192. Okay then, what can you say about the general trend over time then? Well, if we're just talking about the green, starts high, then we can see there was a rapid drop, or it drops rapidly, I should say. Then it levels out a little bit, goes around, and then stays constant, and then goes up steadily again. So that's the trend for that one. For the light blue, we can see that it remains constant for a little while, then it increases sharply, and then, same as the other one, it rises steadily in that direction. Okay. Alright, now we're going to look at a different way to express the increase and decrease. So this is using collocations, but really it's like chunks of words which we put together or tend to use together. So for example, big surprise, these are two words which we tend to use together. This is a big surprise. What a lovely Christmas present you gave me, so that's a big surprise. You might have heard of big deal. Don't worry, it's no big deal. Sorry, we're going to learn how to change from verb and adverb to adjective and noun. So here is an example which is related to graphs. So we're using the same kind of terminology: a sharp rise, a steady fall. All right, but before we can do that, we need to know our nouns. So looking at verbs, we've got these different ones. To tumble, it's like tumble, you tumble down something. This is to go down. To dip, we've looked at dip, dip slightly. So this is going down. And then we have in green, we've got to grow, so to like grow, to go up. To surge is another one that gives like a powerful sense that something is surging and increasing. And then we have the other ones which we looked at, which were the highest points. So to peak at, and then also to fluctuate, which means to go up and down rapidly. Okay? So have a guess at what the nouns are. What do the nouns look like? For a lot of these cases, they are the same as the infinitive verb, but that's not always the case. So to tumble then, what would you say is the noun? Well, we have a tumble. So the only differences really are this one, to grow, becomes growth, and fluctuation. Okay, so it's just important to be aware that there are nouns you need to know, and unfortunately there isn't a set rule for this, you just need to know them. So you have to learn them by heart for each of these. But generally speaking, for graphs anyway, we know that we can take it as read that some of them will be the same. So these ones are the same. Alrighty, so how do we change from verb and adverb to adjective and noun? So the first sentence, and we'll have a look at this one. The sales of CDs, compact discs, declined consistently from 2001 onwards. How can we change this? So let's start using number 2. Oh my god, my handwriting. So we'll start with there. There is, or there are. So how many are we talking about? Is it plural? Yes, it's plural because we've got CDs. So there are a. And now we need to change declined. So this is the verb. Verb. We need to change this to a noun. So that is a. Decline. And then we need to change consistently, which is an adverb. We need to change to adjective. So that goes that way, and this goes this way, if you can see that right. So there is a what? So changing consistently to consistent. We're just going to take off the ly. So there are a consistent line, and then add on from 2000 onwards. But we're just talking about one decline, so it's not are, it is. But also you need to take into account that this is past tense. So we can't have is either. We need to change that to was. So there was a constant, consistent decline from 2001 onwards. Alright, so we're adding on this bit also. Don't forget to add in. What is the decline in? It can be in whatever we're talking about. We're talking about sales of CDs or CD sales. Alright, hopefully that works out. What I was trying to do here was show you that that verb goes to noun, adverb, and adverb goes to adjective. I'll try and draw a better one here. So verb, adverb, noun, sorry, adjective, noun, and then this is how you convert from one to the other. Also you can go backwards. So this time we've got music downloads grew significantly from 2001 onwards. So let's do that. There. Let's do this part now. So change verb to noun. verb goes to noun. So can you remember the noun for grow? We've got grow and grew, and the noun for that is growth. And then this one, significantly, where we just take off the ly, so that becomes significant. Apologies for my handwriting. And then, is this present tense or is this past tense? We know this is past tense, so the is becomes a was. Don't forget a. So there was a significant growth in what? In music downloads. And then we can add on the time duration from 2001 onwards. There. Okay. All right, so those are a couple of examples then. So let's see if you can do this by yourself. So try these. So remember how to change. We'll be changing verb and adverb to adjective and noun. Oh, sorry, I don't know what's happening there. So change verb and adverb to adjective and noun. Just shout it out. It's okay.
Okay.
We're just getting some time. So just shout it out on the screen and then we can work it out. I'll show you the answer. Alright, so you should have something like this. There was a rapid rise in the unemployment rate. So rapidly is changed to rapid. Rose, this is past tense of rise, and then we need to change that to a noun, and the noun happens to be the same. So rapid rise in the unemployment rate. Don't forget a and in. Okay, let's have a look at the next one. The cost of living, so how expensive it is to live on a daily basis. The cost of living, like buying normal stuff, fell dramatically. Okay, so I'll give you some time to work that one out. So this is verb, this is adverb. Fell, remember, is past tense, so what is the infinitive? So what infinitive form is fall, and then for dramatically, we just take dramatic fall in the cost of living. Okie dokie, try this one. So the price of movie tickets fell sharply. It should have come up with something like this. There was a sharp fall in the price of movie tickets. Let's try another. The weather in Thailand changes noticeably from September onwards. So you should have something like this. There is a noticeable change in the weather in Thailand from September onwards. The number of people going to Wat Po has plunged dramatically So remember, we're changing verb and adverb to adjective and noun. Also, be careful of the tense on this one. So what tense is that? Your has and plunged. So this is present perfect. So how can we change there is to present perfect? Past tense would be there was. Present perfect, there has been. So there has been a dramatic plunge in the number of people going to work. Okay, the next one. T-shirt sales had increased steadily for the second quarter. So again, be careful of tenses. All right, and then you should have come up with something like that. So there had been a steady increase in T-shirt sales in the second quarter of 2017. All right, the final thing we need to look at, we've already had a brief glimpse of at and from, but we need to know prepositions. So from a particular point in time or number to another. So this could be like from March to April, for example. Then the other one, by a difference of two numbers. So here you could say something like sales decreased by 20,000. So we know it's decreased, so it's from 70,000 to 50,000. And the difference of those two numbers is 20,000. Then we have this preposition of, a rise of 10%. At a number. So an example would be the price remains steady at 150. And then whatever units that is, that could be baht or pounds or whatever, dollars. And then to a number. So the number of whatever dropped to. So that's going from some other number to this particular value, or the current value. Current number. Also to note with by, there is also another way you can use it, and that's just with a date. So up until start or something. So a point in time, like arriving at a point in time, by December, sales had increased by this point in time. All right, how to explain then? So we're going to look at a graph. It's not too complicated, but we still do have the increases and decreases, and then we're going to see how we can use those prepositions to describe different things. So as a quick practice, from and to, what could we say? So you could say, from January to March, there was an increase. What kind of increase? There was a steady increase. So from January to March, there was a steady increase. Or from January to March, the number of tourists arriving increased steadily. By. Remember, by is always, not always, by is the difference. So we're looking at the difference from one to another. For example, where are we? What we're going to do. So for example, we could go from March to go from March down to June, and then it decreased from 50,000 to 20,000. So there was a steady drop by 20,000. 30,000. There was a steady drop by 30,000. Taking 50,000 from 20,000. 2. Okay then. So in October, you could look at that. In October, there was a steady increase. Or this is going to be a sharp increase, right? To how much? We can look at that and say 65,000. So to a certain value, 65,000, and then remain at. So we're looking at something that is horizontal, close to it. So you could say from August to September, the number of tourists remained at approximately 40,000, roughly 40,000. Okay. Next up then, explaining trends, we have verbs that take a preposition. So we're using, you can use to and by as we've just seen in the example. And then when you're converting the other way to nouns, you can use implies of. For each, it doesn't require a preposition. Other things you'll need to know, also this is for the worksheet that you're going to do, you'll need to know when you use these in general. So in can be month or year or morning or afternoon. At can be a time, or don't forget a value, which we looked at before. From a point in time to another point in time. So this could be from October to December. Then between one point in time and another point. So between March and July, something like that. During a period of time. So this could be like during winter or some other duration, some other period of time. Before, after, it should be quite simple. By a point of time arrived at, so remember we had the alternative by, which was by December, or by some month. Okay, so you should be fairly familiar with all of those anyway. Okay, pen and paper ready then. Let's see if you can get this. What we'll do is we'll look at the same graph, which is all about the number of tourists arriving per month, and then you must add, I'll give you a statement and then you tell me which part of the graph or which sector of the graph that belongs to. So we've got four parts of the graph, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a number for each one. So section 1, section 2, section 3, section 4. So where does A belong? Is it 1 or 2 or 3 or 4? It's not too easy. I don't want to make it too easy, so you can tell me the month there also. So from what month to what other month? So there was a sharp rise, peaking at 65,000 before falling dramatically from one month to another month. Okay? So on your piece of paper, just put the letter next to the number and also the months. So from blah 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 to blah blah blah. Then B, there was a steady downward trend until numbers bottomed out at what value, what number, and then in what month. Alright, C. There was a moderate increase in tourists that leveled off to about, so what value? From month, so month to month. There was a moderate increase in tourists that leveled off to about what? Part D. The number of tourists climbed steadily by about 5,000 and then increased more sharply to just under what value? Okay, so for part A, you should have got 4A. There was a sharp rise. This is the sharp rise, peaking at 65,000 before falling dramatically between this month and this month. So October and December. Part B, was it 1, 2, or 3? It's this part. There was a steady downward trend until the numbers bottomed out at what value? At 20,000. What date was that? It was June. What month? It was June. Okay, so we got that's B. Sorry about this. You know D already. C. There was a moderate increase in tourists from. June. So a moderate increase from June to August. That leveled off to about 40,000. So from June to August. The number of tourists that climbed steadily. The number of tourists climbed steadily by about 5,000 and then increased more sharply to just under 50,000. So this is obviously this part here. And those are the answers right there. So you should have had 1D, 2B, 3C, and 4A. Yeah, that's right. Okay then. So how to start? This is particularly for the speaking, but it's a good idea to write it down before you start. And useful starting expressions could be, as is shown by the graph. From the graph, it can be seen that the graph illustrates something like that. So that's a good way of starting the increase and decrease that you're going to be talking about. And then finally, to recap then, decide the most important parts. Use a verb, an adverb, or adjective and noun. Collocation or chunk. So don't forget to use there is with this part. So really that stops you from repeating the same thing, like you are able to use different words instead of just the same verb and adverb. Use prepositions like from and to, by, that type of thing, just so you give an understanding of values and an understanding of the time, duration, and the period of time that it is taking place over. And then also give those as well. So Alright then, so to do, I'll send this to your groups, your line groups, and there will be the second part of the worksheet. So this is very similar to what we've been doing today, and then there are two parts to that which you need to complete. There's also an example of a graph being described, so that will also help with your speaking activity. And the speaking activity, I will let you know about. Maybe send that to SoundCloud or something like that, if we are not back. So that's it for today. The end. I hope. that was interesting for you. I hope it cleared some things up and it wasn't too complicated, but I went slowly so that you could all understand it. Okay, that's it for now. Bye bye. See you next time.